Struggling to learn art? Or have you always wanted to learn but you have a lot of quote unquote but and quote unquote what if? In this week's episode, we are chatting with Thea Ong, a watercolor artist, full time mom, and creative entrepreneur. From trying out calligraphy and crafting to eventually finding her calling in teaching art, Thea has a lot of techniques up on her sleeve to keep her students engaged and encouraged to keep on learning. In this week's episode, we talked about learning by doing as a step to build your foundation in art, creating coherence using different mediums, shifting from a hobby to full entrepreneurship, and why having a purpose when creating will benefit your art journey. If you want to be part of the conversation, then send in your questions and topics you want us to cover to hello@etcherlab.com. Hey, this is Jessie from Etcher. We believe in your power to create, so we invited artists from all around the globe to inspire you to keep on creating. Join us in this journey and let's celebrate creativity. This is Make More Art, the podcast. Take us through your journey, having seen your works online, having doing a live with you painting as well. Take me through how you started, Thea, with art, how you reach this point of comfortability in artistry in watercolor.
Okay, yeah. Hi. Hi everyone. My name is Thea Ong po. I'm Thea Ong of Instagram. So, I'm a mom, watercolor artist, crafter, designer, and educator. So, I graduated from De La Salle University, Manila. I took up computer science. And I work as a web programmer and an SAP consultant before becoming a full-time mom. And I started my hobby 2016 doing calligraphy and paper crafting before moving on to watercolors in the year 2017. So I have been conducting in-person and virtual classes for almost 5 years now. And I'm currently the Tombow Philippines Ambassador, Cricut Philippines Ambassador, and Tokyo Fines Creative Artist. So to take you to my journey, I started it as a hobby and then slowly developed it. With the help of some friends, I was invited by Sharpie Philippines to conduct workshop during the Manila International Book Fair. So that's my very first gig. And after that, they re-invited me for mall gig as well. So that slowly started everything. From that mall gig, I met Tokyo Fines owners. So it started everything. So since then, I'm getting invitations for art demos and doing some workshops here and there. And it's an up and down roller coaster ride.
Thank you.
With the art.
Yeah. Thank you, Thea. Before we dive into that story, let me just say, belated happy birthday. I know you celebrated your birthday 2 days ago. Tell us how did you spend the day?
Well, we head out. We had our lunch outside the house, so it's just my family, my in-law, and then afternoon I have to conduct workshops. So it's a regular day. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What's interesting with what you just shared as well, Thea, is that you were a SAP consultant, right? You said, and a web designer. Was that right?
Yes.
So it's very technical. I would say the designer part that involves creativity, but shifting to art full time is sort of on the other end of the spectrum. Take me to that shift. What led you to art? I mean, were you always been creative as a young kid? Because SAP is very technical.
To give background, my dad and my brother both took up fine arts. So it's within the family already. And then when I resigned from work and then I took up a freelancing job, the idea was to take care of the kids while working at home. So there's still that thing that you still have income coming in. But when the company closed down, so I shifted to full-time mom job. And my daughter, she was, I think, 5 years old that time. She's really talented. I mean, even for me, I'm really amazed with her talent. It's supernatural. Maybe my brother would keep on mentoring her, and she would be invited to art contests, and I would
Oh
teach
wow.
her.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm giving her some tips. So I would look at her work. So I think that started the hobby as well. And then I
Mhm.
can see some calligraphy artworks. And when I was in high school, I would join Chinese calligraphy contests. So there's no writing contest, penmanship contest before. So too bad that it didn't happen for me. But yeah, I have nice penmanship, I think, when I was young. So that started it, the calligraphy hobby, and then teaching my own child. So from there, the hobby started, and there's just this thing that you want to earn money out of your art. So that's a business side of it. So yeah.
Thanks, Aya. Wow, your daughter is also very talented, and good to know that it runs in the family as well. Did you say your brother and your father took fine arts, and then now it's also reflected in your daughter as well? So yeah, you touched on calligraphy before, and you're right. I don't think it. So it's an art, right? An art of writing that has been it's been in our history for as long as I can remember. People write in ink and with a nib, right?
Yeah.
But it's only, but I'm not sure how it became mainstream. I started calligraphy myself back in 2018, and I'm a lefty. So it's kind of, that was a struggle for me. Are you left handed or right handed?
No, my son is left-handed. So.
Okay. With calligraphy, so it was back in high school when you started Chinese calligraphy, right? So I know it's using, was it using a brush?
Yeah, it's using the bamboo brush.
Yes.
We also have the Chinese ink. So
Mhm.
we don't do the like some the ink thing. It's
Yeah.
already ready to use ink. But yeah,
Okay.
I when I got in the contest, my dad asked an expert or a Chinese teacher expert in calligraphy to teach me. So I did have some training, a little in terms of Chinese calligraphy, but I left that behind after high school.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to ask if there was a time or a point after you resigned and you became a full time mom that you dabbled into calligraphy, at least the modern calligraphy. Was there a point where you did that?
Yeah, we yeah, that started everything. I see friends doing some calligraphy, and I think around that time, 2013, 2014, 15, that started the trend of
Yeah.
modern calligraphy. Yeah. So I dived into it at 2016. So but then after doing calligraphy, my best friend at 2017, I remember January 1st, 2017, I was painting because I got it as a Christmas present. So I got a very nice watercolor paper, and that started it. So I tried watercolor, and I really loved it. And from there, March 2017, I got brave and started offering workshop. And of course, the first customers, yeah, and the ones who will avail your workshop would be immediate friends and
Fun.
family who are very supportive. Yeah, so
Yeah.
from there, 2017 at March, I did my very first workshop, and since then I've been doing that for almost 5 years now.
Before we dive into watercolor, your watercolor world, you said earlier that you were also a crafter. And every now and then I would see on your feed as well that you're still doing some of those. What were if you remember, what were your first works back then in terms of crafting?
I almost forgot. So aside from calligraphy, that's also one of the things that I started. My username was not really Thea.ong. It's actually Craft in a Box Philippines, PH. Yeah,
Okay.
so I changed it, I think, when I started watercolors. But
Mhm.
prior to that, I was thinking of doing a craft business using creating cards in a box. So it's like a pop-up card. So yeah, it's really like dabbing on your creative part. So finding your niche where you want to be. So crafting is also part of my journey.
This is getting more and more interesting, Thea, because I know as an artist, like we want to try different things. We want to explore. We're always curious. And just looking at your story, you try different things. I mean, Chinese calligraphy back in high school, and then there was also modern calligraphy. But then someone gifted you a watercolor set, and prior to that, you were also crafting. Craft in a Box PH, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool name. And then now with watercolors, since you found your niche, it's Thea.ong. Now let's talk about watercolor. So you're known for your loose florals with a very distinct technique and style. When you first started with watercolor, was it already florals that you started painting as your subjects, or were there botanicals? Normally people would start with galaxy painting, right? Or clouds or trees or leaves. With you, was it immediately florals?
Yeah, it was immediately florals. And if you're going to attend my 90-minute class, Kitty was really happy that I showed my very first floral artwork. And
Wow.
comparing the 2017 versus 2022, it's really funny and yeah, it's something. So you can see how it evolved. So yeah, I started with florals already. So I've been painting florals since
For 5 years now.
for 5 years.
Okay, let's talk about how you developed that style. When you were starting out, I know that you have this family lineage in you of artist. Your brother and your father took fine arts, but how did you learn to do watercolor?
Yeah.
Did you have any mentors? Did you research about the subject? Did you attend any classes? What was the learning process?
I attended a class with a brand. Like the brand was like having a marketing event, and then they were inviting people if they have to bring a shoe. So it's actually
Okay.
Kids Philippines. Yeah. So
Okay.
Kids Philippines. Yeah. So you have to bring your own Kids shoe so you can paint on it.
Okay.
So my very first class, the teacher was Joanny. So it's actually acrylic painting. So
Yeah.
she showed us how her style is, but but she's also good in watercolor. She's really good with watercolor. So but that class was actually acrylic painting, but I got the idea from there, and then I keep on watching YouTube videos. I try to self learn, and actually the style that happened to me is you keep on watching, you internalize how they do it, you see their style, and then don't watch and then you do it on your own, like everything that retained in your memory. Yeah, so that's how the style of learning I did. So keep on watching, don't paint while watching. I mean, just watch it and concentrate and focus and maybe internalize how they do it, and then do it yourself. And I think that's how I developed my own style. So you have your own style, but you still retain some of the techniques that you've been watching. Yeah,
That's a really good tip. Watch it first, understand the process, and then create your own without watching, without rewatching it even. That's a really good tip, Thea. I mean, especially, we'll talk about this. The recording. You had your class on last May 26th. Is that right? The mini workshop, the 90-minute class was May 26th. Can you share a little bit more about that? I'm bringing this up because the recording is still up, and you touch on a really good point about watching and then internalizing the process, then doing it on your own instead of following it step by step. So can you share a little bit more about the mini workshop that you did back in
Yeah.
last month?
Yeah. So the mini workshop is botanical line drawing with dreamy florals, and you'll be able to confidently draw using ink and pen. Um, and then using two brushes technique in painting loose florals, and then combining them, the ink and wash. So with a twist, so it's overlapping inks and watercolor. So there's a painting and an ink wash in one artwork.
Oh, so there is ink involved, not just plain watercolor. The ink that you use during the workshop, is it a specific ink? Is it a specific or
Yes, it's the Etcher graphic pens. So I'm using the line pens, yeah, the technical pens. So they have different weights. It has different sizes, so you can interchange the line weights of your inks.
a really good combination of watercolor and ink? And I know we have had artists on here who used ink differently. Some use ink and they let it bleed, and then they top it up with watercolor. But for you, it's you use it for the line drawing. Is that right? And then you mix it with watercolor. How did you come up with that idea of mixing those two together, given that you're very known in the art community as someone who is into loose florals?
So I think I started the line drawing when I collabed with a few friends. So I think Oates was the one who is doing the line drawing back then, and she needed help, and I helped her out. So I think she's getting a lot of work. So we are doing this charity work for the Marawi kids that time. Yeah, war there, and she's getting a lot of workload. So I helped her out, and my very first artwork was really funny. My dad or my brother thought it was my daughter who did it, not me. So yeah, so and then from there I developed my line drawing. Self studying again, and then one time I was painting this loose floral, and I find it very lacking. So I made a silhouette of a stag there. Actually, it's the very first time that I did that topic was the very first time I did an overlapping artwork as well. So I put a stag silhouette over the loose floral and put a line drawing over it. And yeah, I got praise from my dad, who's my best critic or worst critic. So, there's a contrast between the lightness of the watercolor versus the graphic pens. Yeah. So that made it really look good and made the line drawing stand out.
A very interesting combo. And yeah, I love that your father is your either best or worst critic. But at the same time, this is what I love about art, is that you keep discovering things. Like for instance, that right, the initial feedback was that they thought it was your daughter's work, but then you continued learning, you continued studying the medium, and then you mix those two together, your love for watercolor, and then you mix it with ink, and then now you're doing a class for it, which I'm sure a lot of our students in Etcher are interested to learn more about. So take us what they will be learning from that workshop. So the workshop that already happened, the recording is up on the website. If you want to check it out, it's on the Etcher Studio website. We will include that on the show notes as well. But take us through how or what are the things that they can learn from your mini workshop, Thea?
Yeah. So prior to the mini workshop, there's the free workshop. You can watch it over Etcher Studios YouTube channel. So it's the title is Dissecting a Flower, Line Drawing and Loose Florals. So from this free workshop, they will learn how to do the loose floral, the line strokes, the brush strokes prior to the 90-minute workshop. I also did some leaf line drawing that I will not be tackling on the 90-minute workshop. So those are on the free YouTube channel workshop. And then for the 90-minute mini workshop, so that's the line drawing and the dreamy florals, I concentrated more on loose rose. So that's my signature style. So I have some techniques that I shared over there, and and also I started with the line drawing first. So you have to do the silhouette of the stag first, and then adding those dreamy florals, particularly the roses, loose roses.
Love it. Love it. And I adore your loose flowers. We were talking offline earlier how we know a lot of our friends from the art community who are also doing loose florals, right? And some people might say, especially if they're starting out, that I don't want to try loose florals because a lot of people are already using this or have this technique in watercolor. But like what I said earlier when we were discussing that yours is very distinct, and we have other people that we know from the art community who are also doing loose flowers, and you can easily tell that this is Thea's work, this is someone else's work. Thea, for someone who's starting out, and I know that in your workshop you taught watercolor in ink, but for someone who's starting out, what is your recommendation if, say, you're a beginner and would want to learn art or make more art?
Yeah, so I think for beginners, you really need to practice. Practice is always the key, right? So loose florals, it's actually something that's looking at it looks easy, but then in terms of doing it, sometimes it's hard for others, sometimes it's easy for others. I encountered students who get frustrated, and for a time I got frustrated as well as a teacher, because you don't want to that feeling as well, right? But then because especially in-person workshop, they can see each other's work and they would compare.
Right. Yes, the comparison game. True.
Yeah, so I would always tell them that this person's journey is different from yours. This is your very first time. It could be her third workshop already. So, but it's not easy to not to compare, right? So at some point I stopped teaching loose florals. But then Etcher made me teach it again. Yeah. Etcher made me teach it again. So I would say always practice, because loose floral, it's actually easy, but it's more on how you interpret a flower without doing some line, without the pencil line drawing, right? So it's different from type painting, and it's more on how you interpret a flower and do painting it loosely. And then I just want to say as well that sometimes it's a hit or miss sometimes. Like you're going to paint something really nice, but then you try it again, it's going to be looking like something like a blob or something. So always practice. No two loose florals would ever be the same. So they will always be different. So never ever gonna be the same. And you just have to I think I was able to get better when I started selling notebooks, craft notebooks, and I had to paint like 3 florals per notebook, and I got 50 or 60 orders of notebook. So find something that would set a goal, or find something that would make you really practice and hone your skills. So, and I always tell my students, when you do something, do it for a reason, or be efficient and maybe reuse it, give it as a gift, use it as a card, so give it to someone. So make a purpose out of your artwork.
I love it.
That
Make
will,
a purpose out of your artwork. I love it. Don't scrap it, right, Leia? I mean, like what you said, it's a hit or miss. Sometimes it's a blob, sometimes it's a really good piece of art. But I do believe, and I'm not sure if you will agree on this, that there's no such thing as ugly art or bad art. It's up to someone else's interpretation and perception. But I really love your point about make a goal, set a goal, and have a purpose for your art. I guess that's a really good takeaway because once you have that instilled in you, everything that you're going to be doing, creating, will have substance and purpose. And it's something that you will enjoy because you know that it's for a purpose. Thank you so much, Thea. Those are really good points. And again, your workshop, the title again of your 90-minute workshop again, Thea?
the title is Botanical Line Drawing with Dreamy Florals. So yeah, check it out on Etcher. Learn.etcherstudio.com. Just search my name, Thea Ong, and you will be able to see and enroll on my 90-minute workshop.
Excellent. So if you guys want to learn how Thea did a ink and watercolor and how to mix those two together and create a beautiful piece of art with loose florals and with ink, then you have to catch her recording up on the Etcher Studio website. Thea, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for spending this time with me. Again, I hope you had a good birthday 2 days ago. And thank you for teaching, especially kids. I know you're doing a lot of teaching on-site and online classes with kids, which is really amazing because I think most of the kids right now, they are so addicted to gadgets, but empowering them and teaching them art is such a major thing that you're doing for our community and for the kids. So I guess it's coming from you as a mom as well, right? How many kids do you have?
I have two kids, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So both have different talent in a way. So my daughter has a very good drawing talent. The other is the crafter one. He's into crafting, yeah.
I'm glad they had an individual talents, but they all somehow similar to what you did before. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Thea, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on. We'll catch up with you again next time. Thank you, Thea.
Thanks, Jesse. Bye.
Bye.
Thea's advice about creating purpose out of your art is so refreshing. I know it's easy to scrap things when we feel that they are not at the level of our own standards. We become our own worst critics, right? But as Thea said, gift your artwork as a card, reuse it to make someone's day. I hope that this episode encouraged you to keep on creating. Share with us your feedback through the blog post associated with this podcast at etrolab.com/Thea. Until then, let's make more art.